Hello YouTube and welcome back to the Makeover channel. In today's video, I'm going to show you how I achieved this furniture flip. I'm super excited about it. Definitely something I've been wanting to get into for a long time and it's finally here. So I made some investments and I really do plan to pursue this thing. So if you want to see how I got this dining room table to look the way you saw in the thumbnail, go ahead and stay tuned and let's just jump right into it. So let's start with sanding. So first things first, you definitely want to have a thick extension cord. I learned this the hard way, but definitely a learning process. If you use a thin one or a Dollar Tree one or whatever, you will cause the sander to overheat. So just keep that in mind. The next thing you want to do is utilize the lock button. Okay, so the lock button is good for a couple different reasons. For one, when you're loading the paper, just lock it or unplug it, okay? Because it went off in my hands and I freaked out. I dropped the sander. I felt a little scuffed up for a second. I was a little jittery and everything for about 10 minutes. But that was a whole hot mess in itself, so definitely lock your sander. When you're loading your paper, load it vertically, not horizontally. I had to learn that as well. It makes all the difference in the world, okay? Just trust me. So definitely load vertically. So I did watch a couple videos before I took on this challenge, and I did see that you want to be careful not to oversand. Definitely failed in that department. But it's okay. I do like the way it came out in spite of all of the oversanded areas. It looks like it was done on purpose. It does feel more distressed and just a little bit more rustic. I don't know. It's just really cute. It's better even in person than it is on this video. I promise. I'm not just trying to make myself feel good. It really does look like it was just part of the design. So, but if you don't like that look, definitely be careful. You're okay to apply pressure, but just don't stay in the same spot for too long. I definitely struggled with figuring out the whole sanding process. I was being very delicate and very gentle for about the first, what felt like an hour, and I was getting nowhere. I was just going around and around. And then finally I started to apply a little bit more pressure, and then finally I was like, what the heck? My wrist hurts, I'm tired, I'm just gonna go for it. If I mess this up, at least it was only $20, but that's how that came about. So I started with the 80 grit, and then I went to the 220 grit, and then it's recommended that you go to the 120 grit. So I think I said that right. If not, I'll let y'all know. But I only did the first two because I spent a lot of time on that 80 grit, and if I were to do this again, I would definitely not spend as much time with that. But like I said, it's a learning process. So definitely start with your 80 grit, get most of the color off, then go down to the 220 grit, which was like, it was so amazing. And it just came right off. Everything just came right off. And then I just stopped there. I didn't even go to the 120. I didn't feel it was necessary. And I think it's more of a smoothness thing that you're going for when you switch the grits. But I didn't think it was necessary. So I took 1 or 2 shortcuts, maybe 3. But but I will say, what was I gonna say? What was I saying? Oh, I was just gonna say to follow the grain of the pattern on the table or whatever it is that you're flipping. Just make sure you're following the grain, okay? Oh, last thing I want to tell y'all about the lock button. So like I said, it's good for a couple reasons. One, for definitely loading the paper, but for two, you don't have to apply as much pressure. It's less tension on your wrist. I realized that when I got to about this point. Moment of silence, y'all. I was so distraught, but it is what it is. I know better for next time, so just take advantage of your lock button. Okay, so the sanding definitely creates for a huge mess. So after this, you're definitely gonna wanna wipe down your furniture and everything else. I would recommend you do this outside. That was the plan, but it was raining, so I had no choice. I wanted to get this thing done, so I had to do it in the garage. Everything was covered in dust. It does come with a dust bag, but so just keep that in mind. But so wipe the table down. with a cloth. I used a cleaning product as well. I used some Lysol wipes. I used a bunch of stuff, okay? Then you want to stain. So I use the color Classic Gray. I got this at my local Lowe's. I chose that color because that's the only one that they offered. I wanted gray for sure. I didn't particularly want that gray, but it looks really good, so I'm pleased with it. The reason I had to get it from Lowe's is because that's where I have the credit card too, so it just is what it is. That's what I got. You get what you get, don't have a fit, in the words of Judah. But anyway, so I went over my table with 2 coats of stain. I let it rest about a couple hours in between each coat. I think that the more coats you apply, the darker the results. So we got about a medium gray. For the most part, it's really not gonna look like anything until it is completely dry. It almost looked, it just looked very faint when you first apply it. So definitely just apply it first, wipe it off with a dry cloth, and just let it rest and just be patient. And that's one of the things that I struggled with during this process, was the patience part. But hey, we got it done. So the last thing you want to do, wait, it's not the last thing, but you do want to tape off your table. And this was like very nerve-wracking for me because I didn't know what I was gonna get after I pulled the paper up. I did get a little bit of bleed through in one spot, which was such a rookie mistake. Like, it was obvious that that spot needed some more tape, but I missed it, okay? So, hey, but I fixed it and I'll tell you how in just a second. But first, we're gonna tape it off and then we're gonna paint the table. So I would recommend this to any and everybody, okay? It's definitely worth it. I can't remember how much it cost. I'll let you know, but regardless, it was worth it. Invest in a paint sprayer. It changes your life. It'll change your life. So, yes. Okay, so I did, I think, 2 coats of paint. And it was also a learning process even using that, because it's just a certain kind of a flow you want to have with your wrist when you're using the paint sprayer. But I definitely figured it out, so I'm excited for the next like 3 or 4 projects that I have coming up. So yeah, you just want to paint your project, let it dry. I let mine dry for like, I think overnight before I peeled the paper off the top, and whew, so out of breath. Okay, so I pulled the paper off the top and there was a little bit of bleed through, and I was able to fix that by sanding it, staining it, and sanding it again to get a more cohesive stain color. The last step is the polycrylic. Now, I would advise you to get the bigger can if you're going to be doing multiple projects, because it doesn't really go a long way. I was trying to be cheap and I got the $10 can, which is a lot for that little can. But I think in hindsight, I should have gotten the $20 can because I'm running out rather quickly. So what I did was I just went over the top of the table and the sides of the table twice. I did not do the base, just because I have so many other projects that I want to do. But I mean, definitely would encourage you, if you have it, do it, because it'll help with getting nicks or wiping the table down in the long run. I figured since the base won't get as much activity, it'll be okay for now, and I'll eventually revisit that later. But if I left out anything, oh, I will say this. Well, I used the color Ultra White, and I used cabinet enamel, and so you don't have to do any sanding for paint, or at least not with that paint. The only time you need to sand is when you're going to do staining, okay, not painting. But what I will say is I got really carried away. I was really enjoying myself, so I found myself doing a few other things that you might see later. I don't know, I'm not really sure, but I did a nightstand, I did an entryway table, I did the patio furniture, and I just had a really good time. Unfortunately, it rained the day I did the patio furniture, and I had to leave for like, I was gone for a couple hours, so it was just out there in the rain like right after I painted it. But it maintained, it didn't look bad. I didn't really have to touch it up or anything, so there's that. I guess it dried fast, I'm not sure. Anyways, I feel like I'm talking fast. So with that being said, I want to just wrap this video up. Love you all, and I'll see you in my next one.